Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome to Subway Sports Talk. My name is Peter Kennedy. We're here to go off the rails and talk about something that's not sports related at all. It's just actually the sport of nerds, the sport of comic book folklore, and the world of the MCU that we love so much. So let me start off by saying spoiler warnings for anyone who has not watched the Moon Knight series yet. In particular, the finale we are going to talk about as well. We will also do some Doctor Strange predictions before we say goodbye. I know Alec is seeing Doctor Strange on opening night, Thursday night. I am seeing it on Saturday, and we are hyped. And maybe there's some things to be, a little bit nervous about. Maybe we'll cover that as well. But first, Alec Argento, what's up?
What's up?
And yeah, to all the people listening on the pod, we're doing the intro again. That's for YouTube. For you people watching on YouTube, hi, how you doing? Moon Knight just finished. We had a 6-episode season with Oscar Isaac at the helm with multiple personalities, as well as Ethan Hawke playing the Thanos was right? The protagonist? The antagonist, Ethan Hawke's character, Arthur Harrow. Was Thanos right, Alec? Was Thanos right?
Thanos did nothing wrong. There were whales in the Hudson.
And was Amit much different from Thanos, perhaps? I think he was. We can get into that. But again, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched Moon Knight. We're going to talk about that now. This is Off the Rails, the segment where we go off the rails to not talk about sports, but other stuff that we love and are interested in. So, Alec, also sad that Drew's not here for this one because he seemed to have a little bit of salt for the Moon Knight wound that he considered as this series that shouldn't have been a series. And it's a sentiment that I heard not just from him, so I don't want to throw him completely off the rails by himself. Other people felt like Moon Knight and Oscar Isaac deserved the big screen. I felt kind of like you can't make everything a movie, especially when they're trying to build out Disney Plus. So it made a lot of sense that this was a series first. However, other characters in the world of Marvel were often introduced via movies and then given series, a la WandaVision, Loki, Falcon, Winter Soldier, etc., etc. This was different. This was a show that we were told that didn't have a great deal to do with everything else that we've seen in the MCU. However, there were a lot of things that this taught us about how the MCU works, we think, that existed as well. So it had maybe a bigger impact than we thought. And the final credit scene of the finale proved that there should be some Moon Knight in the future. They didn't leave us completely hanging. They gave us a little something to snack on there. So before we get into any specifics, Al, let me just ask you this. What were your overarching thoughts on the Moon Knight series?
I love the finale first and foremost. I thought the finale was dope. I little unnerved, little uncanny valley, and just kind of some shitty CGI when they first introduced Amit and Khonshu. Well, mostly Amit, and it kind of did it with Tower Rot. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm going to butcher it the entire time with the animal faces and everything like that. Kind of looked a little wonky, but that like huge battle at the pyramids and everything like that, and then the background having that like kind of like juxtaposed to the smaller fights together. My one complaint with the series is I would have liked more of what they had in the finale throughout the entire show, which is like that kind of seamless switch. And I understand that the way that they chose to do it was like they had to get to that point to do it, but like that seamless switching between Steven and Mark and everything, and Mr. Knight and Moon Knight and all that together, I thought that was so cool. And just having them feel all part of the same person as opposed to having them kind of fight against each other. And then obviously with the post-credit thing with Jake Lockley, who a lot of people thought was going to, show up eventually. But I thought the show wouldn't have been a good movie, to be honest with you, at least the way that the story was put together as it was, because it was too small stakes for most of it. Like I understand that the overarching theme was that however many people in the world would die because of this, but the way that the story was told, I felt it was very localized and things like that. I guess it's hard to do a movie too because I don't think Oscar Isaac wanted to do a movie. I think that Marvel is doing this thing right now where they're trying to make it super artist friendly, making sure that people don't feel like they're on like a 10 movie contract, that they have to show up to X, Y, and Z. But they also gave him like a ton of creative control to do things. So I mean, you look at the docket of what they're trying to set up. They have Blade coming out. They have Werewolf by Night coming out as a special, and within that, they're having Elsa Bloodstone come in there. So they're clearly trying to do that supernatural side of things, which is cool, and to just see other facets of the world instead of just like New York and like some parts of San Francisco and everything. Um, and then on top of that, it's also mostly takes place in London and Egypt, right? It doesn't take
Right.
place at all in the US, which is cool. Just to kind of see how the world is. And they even make a comment like, are you an Egyptian superhero in the finale? Which, is a little kind of roll your eyes and everything like that. But also the fact it kind of reminded me of the fact that everything is so localized to New York. And it's nice to see what things go on in the other world, and the rest of the world. So I think it was. I mean, I really liked it. I also I want to do a rewatch of it. I want to see how it feels on a binge. Like there wasn't a ton of mystery in the show, which is what I really look for in these, streaming service shows. Like I want to see something that is super chatty online. Like I want to, but I also don't want the ones like Loki or like I'm sure I know you're not watching it, even though I've told you 1,000 times. But like Severance on Apple TV, it's like I want something where I'm guessing the entire way, but I also don't want something that everyone guesses at week one, like Westworld was, or something like that. Or something like WandaVision, where we build something up too much because it's so mysterious, and then what they put out on the show isn't as good as what you expect. But I liked it a lot. I do think it probably could serve well as a binge watch, but I definitely liked waiting for it every week. It was something this day and age, it's hard to get me to get excited for a day to watch a show, and I was super pumped every Wednesday to watch Moon Knight. So I was hyped about it. I thought it was a good show. I think Oscar Isaac's the man. I thought it was a lot more light than I think it could have been in certain areas, like because I don't know. I'm not the type of person like this needs to be an X-rated movie where it's just so grotesque and like murder porn, like it's Saw or something like that. But he is a brutal character, and they showed that he's a brutal character in a lot of ways. But they clearly tried to hide it, and they did it through the lens of like creativity of like the blackout sessions where when he wakes up and everyone is dead and brutally murdered and everything like that. But I think that only goes so far. Like I would have liked to have seen them get a little down in the dirt with things, right? And just kind of show you how things happen.
Yeah, I have a bunch of thoughts on that, and in general, to start off with what you finished with, the Jake Lockley side of things with Drew, it kind of pointed out something that I needed to hear, because not every Marvel fan is as invested as each other, right? Like there are some Marvel fans who are way more involved than other people, and that's just normal. It's just how it is. So I, for one, am somebody who ever since WandaVision, because I felt like there were so many things happening that I didn't fully understand, that I felt like could make the show better. I went in and I watched YouTube recaps and Easter egg breakdowns and etc. And to me, it enhances my viewership. I know you had a take on WandaVision, you kind of just touched on, where you felt like the hype and all the theories going on and all the deep cut looks and whatnot almost spoiled it in a sense. There's a lesser degree of looking into things that just helps you understand better, and that's the thing that I fell into with WandaVision, and then Loki just knocked it out of the park, because when you realize how many intricacies go into the set, go into word choice, go into director decisions, it's really impressive, and it makes Marvel the thing we love so much, right? So then I realized when Drew was like, I didn't even know what Jake Lockley was. I didn't know who Jake Lockley was. There's probably tons of Marvel fans who didn't know who that was. And if I didn't watch the new Rockstar, shout out to new Rockstars, if I didn't watch their breakdowns and whatnot, I wouldn't have known who Jake Lockley was. I hardly knew who Moon Knight was before the show was announced, right? I hardly knew. I just kind of heard of it here and there, whatever. I didn't read the comics, but I was well aware of Jake Lockley from the trailer of the show, right? I knew who that was because I was watching more than an average fan. I just almost combined average.
Casual.
Yeah, an averageable. But it made me kind of appreciate a little bit more of what Drew's gripes were with the show, that he felt it could have been told as one big story. And that makes sense to me, because he wasn't seeing the sarcophagus in the extra room in the Duat, which now, if people aren't in the weeds, now they're like, what the hell are you talking about? But like, if you saw that shaken tomb thing, the sarcophagus, in episode 4 or 5, I forget which one it came out in, and you don't know that there's a third person in Mark Spector's dissociative identity disorder. Tough words, man. Like, then that thing kind of doesn't mean a lot to you. But as soon as somebody who's more in the weeds, who read the comics or watches the videos, sees that sarcophagus, you're like, oh, damn, yo, that's probably Jake Lockley, right? And then even in episode 5, when the one cut back to the insane asylum, where now Mark has bandage on his nose, has a slightly different accent from Mark, you start to say, oh, shoot, did we actually see him before we thought we saw him? It turns out we probably did. Now, I kind of wish when you talk about the finale specifically that we saw glimpses of what happened when Jake took over, right? Because that was like the climax of the show. Mark just got taken down by Harrow, and Layla's pinned up against the car. And you're kind of like, oh, damn, like what's about to go down now? Is he going to freak out? Is Good going to override everything? Is Khonshu coming back into play here? What's going to happen? And, he blacked out. Jake clearly took over, which we know now, wiped out the whole crowd and really won the battle, right? I wish we saw a little bit of that, but I understand why they chose not to, because it led to that post-credit scene and really sets up the future of Moon Knight if they choose to go that direction. So from that regard, I became a little bit more sensitive to the idea of like, oh, damn, an average Joe who's about to go watch Doctor Strange on Friday night because they seen Infinity War, Endgame, and Spider-Man, they don't know about Amit being behind the other Egyptian god who's the real one. You know what I mean? Like they don't know about all that. So it made me a little more sensitive to it. But overall, I was a little surprised with the gruesome part of it that you were getting to. It felt like they hit the gruesome stuff a little bit earlier, and then a lot of that gore kind of slipped away. Like when Moon Knight, when we first saw him and he was just wailing on that creature in the bathroom, it's like, yo, Moon Knight's about to fuck shit up, right? And then our Moon Knight scenes that we got after that were a little bit more few and far between. And that was okay because we were invested in the characters and the DID, the dissociative identity disorder, Steven versus Mark, who's real. I can't say that word. Like that stuff was all really interesting. But I do think one gripe from some fans is relatively fair. There wasn't a ton of moon knighting. There wasn't a ton of it because really for like 2.5 episodes, he was lost from Khonshu as well.
Mm-hmm. I will say one thing that I really did like about it. So, I'm telling on myself for being a nerd, but when I was in college, I used to read comics I used to go every Wednesday for New Comic Day and everything. But one thing that's cool about Moon Knight in the comics is that you actually don't know if any of it's real because he's a crazy person. Or maybe I shouldn't say that, but you know what I mean. And he's a very unreliable narrator. So you don't know if Khonshu is even real. You don't know if any of it's real or it's just made up. Maybe he has a superpowers for one thing, but like, they kind of displayed that in the show pretty well. Like ultimately, you lean on the side of okay, yeah, it's real. Like everyone, there was a giant fight in the pyramids and everything like that, but they don't really show that anybody reacted to the giant fight in the pyramids outside of just like the losing the souls and everything like that. So but flipping back and forth between that psychiatric ward and everything like that, that clearly seems suspect. But also, he goes back there after everything's done. It seems a little wishy-washy on purpose, and I like that because I want to know that I don't really know what's going on. Right? I like that the mystery aspect of it. I don't want it to be super straightforward, and they displayed that really, really well in the show, in my opinion. So I like that a lot.
And it's so different from other entities of Marvel, where like Falcon and Winter Soldier. There's deception because, Sharon Carter is the power broker. That's deception. That's more of like, sleight of hand, if you will. It ain't
Sure.
it's not exactly magic. But other realms of this universe that we are being exposed to, a lot of which stems from Spider-Man, which I think it makes so much sense that this happens post that. Like it makes more sense that this stuff exists because now we're talking multi-dimension, we're talking monsters, we're talking all this stuff that Doctor Strange is about to deal with in the movie that comes out tomorrow or today. If you're listening to this on Thursday, it's important for that stuff to be shown out too. And the best thing I did love about the finale is after, they put Amit back into Harrow and then Mark decides to let him free. Then he's right back into the award. You're like, what? And then he snaps out of it, beats it. And then he's right back in the original bedroom of Stephen Grant's flat in London. And then you got like double whoop-de-doo there because you're like, oh, snap, it wasn't real the whole time. And you're like, nah, it was real. No, it wasn't real the whole time. And then as soon as Mark and Steven continue to converse without any hindrances and any blockages between them is when you're like, okay, no, at least a good chunk of this, a portion of this was real. And that kind of landed the ship for me. Because I did feel like there were some loose ends. Like the Layla was like not really given a true ending. She was just there when Mark decided to not kill Harrow in that moment. But that kind of tied it together to me. Like, okay, they accomplished a lot as characters. I guess you can count them as two different characters. And now let's see where it goes. They're back where it all started with the sand around the bed. And the sand was so symbolic, obviously, in many ways, with Steven at one point and Mark getting tied up into the sand in the duat. So that portion of it really like landed it hard for me because at one point I was like, was there a slight anticlimactic feeling to that ending there where you didn't even see Moon Knight like save the day because it wasn't Mark, it wasn't Steven, it was probably Jake, and then it definitely was Jake. And then they did really tie it together when Steven and Mark conversed at the end and were like, all right, we're together now and we might be stronger together.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I thought it was cool as shit. My question going forward. So I know it wasn't on the docket here, but we also had the Thor trailer come
Oh
out
yeah,
recently.
huge.
I'm wondering. So again, we're in spoiler territory, and we all know that Christian Bale's in the movie as Gore the God Butcher. If you look at the trailer, they have the Greek pantheon there too, in addition to obviously Thor being the Norse pantheon and everything like that. But now we have the Egyptian pantheon. I'm wondering if you see some of these. I really like this whole god aspect, the gods aspect in Marvel. I know it's in the comics and everything, but how they're introducing it and just like them not actually being gods, but just essentially superheroes of their own time, and that are able to influence the world and whatnot. But I'm wondering if you see when in Thor, if Gore goes after any of the Egyptian gods in there too. Maybe you see a little Ahmed in there or something like that. Get the axe from Gore just to show how powerful he is. That'll be cool because you know the only person that's going to probably survive that the Greek pantheon is probably Hercules because he's a huge Marvel character. So
Yeah, 100%. And I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to bring it up as well. Right. You saw Zeus in the trailer, which the big, it's not a spoiler. It's just a big fan theory right now that Zeus is going to come in. He's going to be outrageous. He's going to be an over the top character and just get
you
brutal.
don't hire Russell Crowe to play subtlety.
Yeah, no, just going to be brutal murder. Like it's 5 minutes after we get introduced to him. That's like what everybody's assuming. And honestly, if they give it to us, I don't think anyone will be disappointed. But the Egyptian deities that now exist in the MCU absolutely play a role. Because so for anyone who's not familiar with Gore, and not like I'm some sort of expert, like I said, I just watched videos on YouTube and looked into some comic stuff. Like he's pissed off at all the gods because he found out basically at his planet's reckoning that the gods could have done something. They did nothing. They wield all this power and they do nothing with it, but fight with each other and bad things. Right. So he took that vengeance. He got the power of All Black, which is a sword that can kill gods. Hence, Gore the God Butcher, and he's on a vengeance tour, and that's why he's now running into Thor. And now that makes me believe there's no reason he wouldn't run into all these other people and the Celestials, because Nowhere from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, which is a place, right? Nowhere. That's a severed head of a Celestial that was, in theory, butchered by the same sword that Gore wields. So all these things tie together. To me, that's what makes Marvel so incredible. Is that like people say, oh, it started with Iron Man and it built up to this crazy thing. You almost have to think about when they're making Iron Man like 3 at that point, and like the Thor, Captain Americas of the world are now in play. The first Avengers is in play. Are they thinking about Gore the God Butcher? You know what I'm saying? And maybe not, but like at the same time, it ties in so well to one another that like they were. And granted, they have all these variations of the comics to base off of and pull from and recreate their own little
Well,
character.
you know what? I mean, they plan things 10 years in a row, 10 years forward. Feige is planning is like having a retreat with all the Marvel brass this week or something like that to plan the next 10 years of Marvel, which is like crazy to think about, and all the like intricacies of that. Especially now that they have like Disney Plus as a platform now, and they're putting out like 3-4 movies plus 4 to 5 shows a year or something like that. Just like imagine the intricacy and like just the storyboard people that have to make sure that everything is not jumping all over each other and contradicting each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. My head gets blown up every time I even just see what comes on screen. I can't imagine trying to, you know, yarn it across a whiteboard to figure out who's meeting who and
Pepe
who.
Sylvia.
Yeah, like what means what. Like it really is incredible. But
I have a question for you before we go off of that. Maybe I'm stupid here. When Layla is going through to find Khonshu's totem or whatever it was called, I forget what the
shopped.
actual word is. Yeah, she passes by like 30 other gods.
Yeah,
Clearly, all of the gods hate Amit. Why wouldn't you just smash all the fucking all the little statues? Just release them all and just like go for it. Or is it just like maybe they're all bad and you don't know? Maybe they're there for a reason.
you don't know what you're getting into when you start smashing shit, right? Like you don't know what's coming out the other side. I guess
I guess.
I thought the same thing, right? Like, what if she didn't know what Khonshu looked like? Would she clearly? I guess she did, which wasn't covered specifically. But she's also
Well,
like,
I guess he's an Egyptian god, so like you could see the pictures and know that he's the
true.
bird one. You know what I mean?
And she also knew Mark was to do with Khonshu, so she's aware. And also, she's like, her dad was the I can't think
Expert
of
or whatever.
what's the word where they dig and stuff, whatever.
Archaeologist.
Yeah. So she's
Indiana Jones.
she's aware. So yeah, that's a fair question. I thought that too. Like, what if she's like, I don't know which one it is, and they all
Yeah.
just God madness. That would have been
Well,
wild.
because there was like 4 gods that like were still active from Egypt, and like the rest of them, like just I guess everyone screwed up at some point. But like I don't know, like they can't all be bad. I just they're all clearly gonna hate this person, and there was cool, create a cool storyline going forward.
That was something that even nerdier people than you and I were talking about early, because the Ennead, which is the hierarchy of the Egyptian deities, uh, technically has like 7 god, and I'm going to mess this up, so do not quote me on this. There's like 7 of them, but then on the original poster in Moon Knight there were 9, and like 3 of them aren't even a part of it. So that led the groundwork for the big 4 that remained, clearly pulling strings and kicking people out and softying them into stone over time. So this has been a mess for a while, basically.
I gotta give you credit. You couldn't say like dissociative personality disorder or whatever it is, but you're saying all these Egyptian archaeological terms like that. I give you a ton of credit, pal.
Yeah, I wish I could take the credit for myself, but shout out to Eric Voss on New Rockstars. Realistically, like he's just, I mean, I wish I didn't have to kiss his ass, but you watch those videos, I'm like, golly, man, this guy must not sleep. This guy,
So time consuming.
like,
So
bro,
time consuming.
and the videos are edited with clips and cutaways and small. Bruh, I'll tell you what I'm doing with this video is I'm going to snip off the first 3 seconds and the final 3 seconds, and it's 30 minutes and it's on YouTube by the next hour. So yeah, it's special stuff. But to circle up on Moon Knight, then we'll do some Doctor Strange predictions. Moon Knight moving forward, right? When I say rank, I don't mean in like specifics of like numbers or anything like that. How do you rank him in like how much you want to see him moving forward? And then B, what is your prediction on how he's incorporated moving forward?
Yes, I want to see him a ton. I don't know what you mean by ranking him because
Well, I mean, like compared to like people from the other shows and just
I mean,
other.
I don't need to see Hawkeye anymore. I don't need to see Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I know they'll be in movies going forward. There's obviously Captain America 4 coming out with Falcon, but like those shows like kind of sucked in my opinion. But I definitely want to see him in things. But I want to see him. I want him to get another season of the show. Which I don't know. They changed the series. Like it was titled series finale, and then they changed it to season finale. But it's not. They didn't say like Moon Knight will return at the end of the episode. At least I didn't see or anything like that, like they usually do. But I'd love to see an extra season of that. I would love to see him do like the cool supernatural dark side stuff, or like go fight vampires with Blade and do like a Midnight Suns or something like that with Ghost Rider. That stuff's cool. You know, I like that they're trying to explore all these different aspects of Marvel. Like first, it was just like the very like normal human being type people, like the Iron Mans and the Captain Americas and everything. And then they started doing the cosmic stuff and everything, and now they're starting to do the magic stuff. But within there's all like subsections of all that too, right? Within the magic stuff, there's like that weird underbelly of the world or realm or whatever you want to call it, with the Ghost Riders and the Blades and all that stuff. That's cool to see. I want to see that. But like do it right, make it dark, and make it cool. And like, I'm not saying it has to be super, super gory or anything like that, but you'd be doing a disservice to all those characters if you like just kind of like it was like a paint by numbers, quippy, jokey type show or movie with those people. So I'd like to see him in more stuff for sure. I think Oscar Isaac's an awesome actor. I think he actually knocked it out of the park with this, especially considering some of the dialogue is a little stilted at times, which is a problem with Marvel in general, and you just kind of accept it. But I just think he was awesome, and especially like it's hard to play multiple personalities, right? Like it's like James McAvoy did it recently with
Split.
Split, yeah, which he did great. But also, I think the way Oscar Isaac did it in this, which is he played it as a person who would have it like in the way that like
Right.
yeah, his British accent sounds like me doing a British accent, or his Chicago accent sounds like me doing a Chicago accent. Whereas like you watch Split and he's like, he's all buttoned up and he's got all these exact personalities and everything like that. I don't know, I think it's cool. It just felt like someone who is like making it up as they go along, right? Like who has an issue in doing that, which I thought was really good. And also like playing off of yourself, which is I'm sure very difficult because you're obviously not in the room with the other person. I just think he did a great job, and I would just love to see it now where it's not where the majority of the show or movie or whatever vehicle they have for it isn't Mark versus Steven versus Jake. I want everything to kind of come together and to like interchange, because that was the coolest aspect of the show to me, was at the end everybody was just all one unit working together like different gears in a machine.
Until Jake came up, right? Which that will be the key contention point to the next time we see Mark, Steven, and Jake. Like now it's Mark and Steven together, probably versus Jake. They don't even know that he exists really right now.
Yeah, but I don't know if they could do that again, like the same like exact notion. Like maybe that's an episode.
It'll at least be the starter. That'll be
Sure.
the starter point to where they now realize, oh snap, we still got Khonshu. Like we're still Moon Knight. Because
Yeah,
if Mark and Steven thought they weren't Moon Knight, then there's no show. Then they're just two guys walking around talking to each other. One guy.
true.
But
True.
so there's going to be something there where now, who knows what Jake's Moon Knight looks like or acts like, but that's something that they have to explore whenever he comes in next. I agree though, wholeheartedly. Want to see more of it. I think Mohammed Diab, who is the director of the show, insane. The visuals of this, I always look back to that one scene where Stephen Grant's Mr. Knight, where he kind of made his coming out party, not when he first got on the suit, but when he and Khonshu moved the stars. Like, what a visually just insane scene. Like, it looked so freaking cool. So I'm in on more of that for sure. And he's definitely coming back, because the tea leaves that I'm seeing, Isaac is invested in this role, which you touched on before. He was an executive producer on the show because he cared about it. And I think he's talked about it a little bit. He feels like he was shorted a bit with Star Wars. He was shorted a bit with Apocalypse in X-Men, because it just went kind of poorly in different ways. And he wanted to do this one right, and he wants to build it out. And that matters. And that means when they call him for something, he's probably going to be game. So I think we see more Moon Knight for sure. For sure. All right. A little longer than we thought on the Moon Knight front, but that was great. I love talking about this stuff,
They
man.
don't have to stay on. If they want to leave, they can leave. I'm sure that they love it though.
I'm sure that they left already. So so now let's talk Doctor Strange, and let's do some predictions. So it is now officially May 5th. Not technically, because we're recording at 11:30, but it's May 5th. The movie comes out. It's not quite out yet. If you're listening to this or you haven't seen it yet, here's some predictions for you guys. Let's first and foremost cover a few things that we do know. And we do know that Patrick Stewart exists as Professor Xavier with his yellow hovercraft that was in the last trailer. We do know that Captain Carter exists in this movie as well. And if you did not watch What If, I would recommend trying to watch at least episodes like one, the Doctor Strange episode, and the final one. But whatever, watch it. It's an easy watch. Coach Carter exists. We know that some sort of Photon or Captain Marvel variant exists, where it's Maria Rambeau or Monica Rambeau, perhaps. And that may be it, but there's going to be more, right? There's going to be other characters from other movies or other superheroes or supervillains from other walks of Marvel world that are popping up. We know this, and based off the reviews, we almost definitely know this. It's not quite as obvious as Toby and Andrew coming in as other Spider-Men, but something's happening. So Al, first and foremost on what you're hearing from the review front. How's that making you feel about what's coming? And then give me a prediction about who's going to pop up.
Yeah, so review front, I was a little worried because I was reading I think on Rotten Tomatoes it's like 79% or something like that, 75%. Forget where I saw it last, but that's okay. Like that's not great. It's not, some of the better Marvel movies are like 98% or something like that when you see like a Winter Soldier or the Endgame or whatever the case is. But I started reading the reviews, and if you look at them, they're mostly like, "Hey, there's not a lot of substance here. It's a very Sam Raimi movie." I don't want to go see a Sam Raimi movie that's not a Sam Raimi movie. He defined my love for movies. He defined my love for superheroes because when I was like 5 years old and Spider Man came out with Tobey Maguire, and then Spider Man 2 and 3, like it was like defined a lot about me as a human being. I love that stuff. I also love his Evil Dead movies and Drag Me to Hell and all that stuff. Oz the Great and Powerful sucked, but that's whatever. But I want to go see a visually spectacular movie. I want to see cool action because we haven't seen a lot of cool action with Marvel in a while, actually. Which I want to see insane visuals. I didn't actually like the first Doctor Strange movie. I love the character. I was really excited for him, but like I thought he was like really misused in that movie. Especially just like his powers were super like shield, like he was
Right,
whip,
right.
that's all it was. And then the mirror dimension was really cool in that, but it got old kind of fast, and they're still using the mirror dimension in all of his movies. But he's been in like a ton of movies since then as like a side character, and you've seen his skill set evolve. And nothing was cooler than Infinity War for me when he's doing like, and I think he did an Endgame too, but that constant just like multiple copies of yourself and the multiple whips and everything like that. And you're gonna see cool shit with him in this movie, and that's what I'm really excited about. I want to see this be big, right? I don't mean big as in like I need to see Endgame where everybody pops up or anything like that. I just want like to showcase that like these two people, Wanda and Doctor Strange, are incredibly powerful. Like if Iron Man went toe to toe with him, Iron Man would have died in a second. That's what I want to see in this movie. I want to showcase how powerful they are, and not powerful like punchy powerful. I want to see like otherworldly and other universally powerful they are, right? And you can kind of just see that in the trailers alone with what they're going through, the different dimensions, and they get. I think there's like an animation dimension and stuff like that.
Right.
That's cool. And hopefully you get at the end of it in terms of like what I would expect. I want to see hopefully a way that mutants finally get introduced into the MCU. The Patrick Stewart coming in with his yellow thing that's from X-Men the cartoon from when we were kids,
Yep.
and but continuing that show on Disney Plus soon. So I'm curious if they're going to somehow, if anybody's familiar with the comics with House of M, where she gets rid of all mutants, maybe she does a reverse here where she gets them all back, or I guess still part of House of M where she gets all the mutants back, but maybe she brings that universe into this. That sounds wonky, but I'm into it if they could make it work and everything. That's the biggest thing I want to see. Also, I'm curious with the Illuminati that they're putting into this. It's no secret that they're doing the Illuminati anymore. There's rumors out there. There's been plenty of rumors. I've heard like Mr. Fantastic's going to be it. I've heard Tom Cruise's Iron Man's going to be in it. I've heard a bunch of different rumors for like the past year of like all these different fan castings and everything like that may or may not be true. One thing I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care about is Agent Carter. I have not cared about her in one thing that they have ever put her in. I didn't care about her in Captain America. I didn't care about it I didn't care about her when it was in What If. I don't want to see her anymore. I don't think she's an interesting character by any stretch of the imagination. She had a closed loop in Avengers when Steve had his closed loop. Just
Right.
leave it at that. Stop pushing this narrative. I don't care about her. I've never cared about her. And if you're going to put her in a dozen snippets of different movies, it's not going to make me care about her more. just move on from the character. You have so many other people that you could play with in this world. Like
Right.
go do what you're doing with the Photon, or like I don't know enough about her, but like clearly they're setting her up for something. Go for it. If like you want to have like a female presence there, that's fine. I get that. But like that particular character is the most boring fucking character I've ever seen in my life, and she just gets shoved down my throat as a MCU fan. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, it's like, all right, so it's a variant of her who actually gets the first super soldier serum, right? So like that, whatever. There's definitely an alternate thing that happens, which we're gonna learn about, I'm sure, at least a little bit. I agree. I don't think there's a ton there. That's like the first episode of What If. I was like, okay, this is a cool concept. I didn't feel completely moved by it, but it was a cool concept. I do think there's one thing to it. It almost makes like Steve Rogers Captain America like a piece of shit. Like this Captain Carter is a multi-dimensional warrior, and like, Captain America couldn't even, take on some of the regular heroes we got around here. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. I would rebuke that because without Captain America, 50% of the universe would be gone. So.
Oh, of course. I mean, you're right. I was being a little bit downplayish there. And you know what? I think my personal arc with Captain America was when the first movie came out, I was like, oh my God, I love Captain America. And then like how corny and like righteous he was all the time. I was like, ugh, whatever. And then he kind of made it a heel turn back when he did the Hail Hydra thing in the guy's ear and kind of flipped the script and like didn't always play by the rules. Right. And that's kind of like the Captain America that I fell back in love with.
Yeah.
But yes, besides the point, I do agree. I don't know how much intrigue is there. I don't think it's going to be that big of a part of the movie, but if you do watch What If, she does kind of play a big role. So
yeah, but What If was like that show was all over the place. Like sometimes it's like it's just like a random episodic show where, and then sometimes it's incredibly serialized. Like that show was super wacky, and most of the show was not good.
Other than the Doctor Strange episode and the
zombies one was good,
and the zombie. Well, I'm talking about more of like meaningful. The Doctor Strange one clearly has influence on the movie that's coming.
Well, no, because they said in interviews that this is not that same Doctor Strange. They said
no, I'm just saying influence. It's not him, but the influence is clearly there, even from the choices they're making in the trailer clip.
Well, the reason I said that is because I'm starting to worry that the shows don't matter at all because they keep saying that the shows are going to matter. The shows are going to matter. So far, they haven't mattered. We'll see with Doctor Strange. That's going to be the big barometer because not even just What If, because like you can get away with not including What If and things like that. That's fine. It's an animated show. Most people didn't watch that. Yeah. But WandaVision is like this is supposed like if you don't acknowledge, so we'll see how much that impacts things because they say that it's like required viewing to watch these things. But if they're gonna keep putting out a bunch of shows, like I'm gonna pick and choose what I want to watch out of those things. So I don't have the time for some of the crap that they put out. Which
should be fair. And then you'll hear like, the Marvels, which is one of the ones in the works. Like
that show looks horrible. Captain, the Miss Marvel, whatever.
No, not Miss Marvel.
The movie.
Right. Yeah. Whatever. But you get the point. But let's circle back here for a second.
Sorry.
It's all good. There's like so many things to try to wrap your head around.
It's all connected.
On the Doctor Strange front, this was it's not even a gripe. It's more of a question mark. When Doctor Strange was introduced to us, he was a douchebag, right? Like he was this hardcore, arrogant doctor who then learned all this stuff. And despite then becoming a little bit more righteous, was still like kind of a hardcore guy. Like he's kind of like was stuck in his ways. He knew he was doing the right thing, so he did it. And then he became more of like a spiritual leader of the group, right? With his mixed tones of sarcasm in the Avenger films where, now he's looking into the future and he's being solemn, like this is the only way and all this and that. And then in Spider-Man, he was like kind of a dick again. And I'm like, all right, who is Doctor Strange? Who is Stephen Strange? The main one, not Sinister Strange or whatever other Stranges we're going to run into in this multiverse of madness. Like our main Doctor Strange, like, is he a prickly, like arrogant jerk sorcerer supreme? Or is he now like this fatherly leader who's like a little bit more spiritual in his guidance? And I don't know where this Doctor Strange comes out from Spider-Man, where he was a little bit of both. Like he was kind of a dick early to Spider-Man. Then he was pissed because he trapped him. And then he was like fatherly again, So I don't know.
Who does that sound like though? Sounds like Iron Man. Sounds like Tony Stark. Tony Stark was always both of those things his entire time in the MCU. He was always snarky and a dick, but he was also always incredibly smart and incredibly strategic and looking out for other people, like self-serving when he needed to be, and incredibly altruistic when he needed to be.
That's a great point. And we were all curious when Spider-Man was coming out, like, why would Doctor Strange do like this crazy spell? Like, why would he? Wong is like, bro, this is crazy. I'm just letting you know, this is crazy. You probably shouldn't do it, but I'm leaving. I'll go over here. and Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme now, which will actually probably be touched on more.
He's gonna die. My boy Wong gonna die. I see it. I see it in the tea leaves.
Oh no, that's a prediction. You heard it here first. So yeah, is Wong? I mean, is Strange now bitter that he lost his mantle because he got blipped? And basically, like Endgame changed the MCU in so many different ways. And one of way is obviously the blip, re-blip, unblip, whatever that affected all the shows and movies we've seen since. And then on the other front, it just changed the way we expect stuff. Like our expectations now are like, oh my God, it has to be everyone, it has to be huge, it has to tell personal stories and have huge action. I don't think we're getting all of that in Doctor Strange because when I first saw that it was 2 hours, I was like, I expected 2 hours and 50 minutes, not 2 hours and 6 minutes. But that leads us to a slight chance of, I said to you in the text, trying to stick 10 pounds of sausage in a 5-pound bag or 5-pound casing. I don't really know how saying
Can you do a poll after this and ask how many people have heard that phrase?
I can. I will. I won't. But I think we'll get a lot of things that matter for the next 5, 10, 15 movies. I think we'll get some sick cameos. And maybe we'll miss out on some of the Doctor Strange development from an individual standpoint because they're going to be dealing with 6 of them.
Well, wouldn't you be fine with like them showing like what I was saying before, just showing how badass he is and like
Right.
showing what they can do and like part of here's why I'm not too worried about the runtime too, is that you don't need to establish the villain. We all know who Wanda is now. Like
Right.
that's the villain of the movie, and you don't have like Mordo is not the villain of the movie or whoever the Illuminati or anything. It's Wanda. We know it's Wanda. We have a lot of information and context about her. So maybe like there's no setup that needs to happen. You could roll right into what's going in there. So
True.
what I just want to see there is like I want to see dope visuals. I want to see cool things that like are mind bending and like I want to see that signature Sam Raimi like creepy yet goofy at the same time. What's that?
Spinning cameras and stuff like
I love it. I love it. Like give it all to me. And I hope they I mean like I won't be upset if they don't, but I hope they lean into the horror stuff like which is what you if you want Sam Raimi, you want that, right? You want the creepiness, but also that like campiness that goes along with it. That's what you get with the Sam Raimi movie. So from the reviews I've been reading, it says that's there for sure. If you're looking for like a deep character piece, you're not going to get it. But like if you're looking for cool stuff, it looks like it's what you're going to get. And like at a certain point, that's what I want in a superhero movie. I want to see cool things. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to hear. It's great when you have an Endgame and an Infinity War that really dive deep into the characters. But
go
I'm also fine
everything.
with
Right.
yeah, exactly. I'm also fine with just a cool ass movie. Like Spider-Man, for example, the last Spider-Man movie. Like it's not like there's no deepness to it. Like I mean, I guess there is to an extent, but like it's not like this deep dark character dive into who they are as a person. But it's there enough where it's like I can just enjoy this fan service moment that seems super earned and not ham fisted into the audience, right?
Mm.
I can really enjoy that stuff. So like when I see the Illuminati, even though I know it's already coming, I can be pumped about it because I'm still going to see stuff that I don't expect and whatever it is, and I'm fine with that. And I don't care how they were, who they are as human beings or superhuman beings or whatever it is. Just enjoy the ride. That like it's fine to enjoy the ride with a superhero movie. I felt that way with Eternals. Like
Yeah.
everyone hated that movie. I was like,
It was
oh, I
fine.
thought it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Fine. I agree. Quickly, and we'll end up. Wanda. A lot of people were on this early. She was one of the strongest characters in the universe, easily. Like the Scarlet Witch, who she wasn't yet until the show, right? She's one of the strongest characters. It is what it
Mhm.
is. She has now this whole other realm to explore and way to affect the entire universe. She's been reading the books. She's been doing the seances. Some crazy stuff's going to happen with her. We know that. That's so exciting. I think she's a great character. Shout out to Lizzie Olsen. She's also very cute. She won't be very cute in this show. She'll be pretty scary. But besides the point, final final predictions. Final predictions here. I want one Illuminati member from you who you think they're going to reveal. You don't have to guess who's going to be the actor. Just what one character that you think is going to be in the Illuminati that we don't know yet.
I was just gonna say Professor X before you said
Oh,
we don't know yet. I was gonna so sneak in there. Uh, I'm torn. I would think Namor normally because he's a huge Illuminati guy, but he's clearly being set up for the next Black Panther movie. I think it's got to be Mr. Fantastic. He's an Illuminati member. I don't. I'm very curious. I've heard rumors for the past couple months that it would be two different people. It would either be I'm not going to pretend to pronounce his name. It's like Jan Grufford or something like that, the guy from the original ones from like 2005,
Right.
the original Fantastic Four movies, which are garbage. But like we're also just bringing in a bunch of people from like movies that weren't good and just giving them redemption arcs now with the multiverse, and I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be the biggest like fan casting of all time, which is John Krasinski. People have wanted John Krasinski and Emily Blunt to play Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm for forever.
Yeah.
So I would be very curious if they do that, and they would probably be a cool thing because John Watts, who directed it was supposed to direct the next Fantastic Four movie, dropped out. If you get Krasinski, you can then get Krasinski to direct it because Krasinski is now a director. He's actually a damn good director too. If you've seen the Quiet Place movies, so be down for that. But that my guess is that, and then my other big hopeful prediction is just bringing the mutants finally into the MCU because we need it at this point. But I hope they just do it in a good way because there's too many question marks if you just say they were either already there or or if you just bring them in like a House of M type thing. You're also there's a ton of mutant history because they've always been there with like Apocalypse or something like that.
Right.
Like you don't want to lose that stuff. And then they'd also have to like retcon Magneto because his whole backstory is with the Holocaust. I'm very curious to see what they'll do, but I'm hopeful that we'll get the ball rolling on that stuff.
Imagine trying to make those decisions, bro. I'd be like, what?
Yeah, I don't know, but smarter minds than ours.
That's crazy. Yeah, for real,
Yeah.
for real. Okay. I also think the Mr. Fantastic pick is a big one. I think this is more of me hoping. I was hoping for a Jonathan Major sighting and just some sort of Kang variant who might not be as like aggressive or, delinquent, the right word. Somebody who's not like the evilest version of Kang. Like He Who Remains at the end of Loki wasn't the evilest version of Kang. He said it to us straight up. He was like,
Kang is the evilest version of Kang.
right, true. I'm saying Kang,
Yeah.
but he was like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be like Kang the Conqueror. It's not going to be, was it Farrah the Tut? One of those the one that like people predicted might
Peter
have
the Kennedy.
Peter the Kennedy. But maybe some sort of Jonathan Majors Kang variant that exists in a more mellowed matter. But I think that just brings too much to try to explain. And I think people would have freaked out if they saw that. I don't think that's happening. So I guess Mr. Fantastic was my guess too. There's a bunch of other ones. I'm gonna predict that we don't see Tom Cruise Superior Iron Man. I'm gonna predict that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a big one from like historically speaking of like the what could have been like castings because he was supposed to be Iron Man before they got Robert Downey Jr. It would have been a very interesting Iron Man. I would love to see Tom Cruise. He's such a psycho, and I would love to just see it.
Maybe
but also,
if they bring him in, I think he dies really quick.
probably, I mean, like that might happen with the Illuminati because it looks like immediately she goes to battle with them, like as soon as she gets there. So I wonder, like, I don't think she might kill one person, like to kind of show her. Maybe hopefully she'll kill Captain Carter. Oh, it'd be so great! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! But just to kind of show how like dominant she is and everything. But like that was one of the biggest, not to use the term, but like what ifs with the Marvel universe. Like what if Tom Cruise played Iron Man, but also John Krasinski was like this close to being Captain America too. So that's another one. Like if they just cast him in a similar role and see how it works out, I'd be super pumped with that stuff too.
Oh man, I'm so excited. I know.
I'll be getting out of the movie. I'll be an hour out of the movie by now tomorrow.
There we go. All right, we have nothing else to say. We can keep talking for like 9 hours if we really wanted to, but we were supposed to do a 15-minute episode on Moon Knight and Doctor Strange, and here we are at 50 minutes. Maybe unlike the movie, we went too long. Who's to say? Who's to say? All right.
10 bags of sausage and five bags.
Oh man, enjoy Doctor Strange, enjoy Moon Knight, enjoy Marvel stuff. It's awesome. We also have Thor to look forward to really soon, which is going to be so fun.
Yeah.
Alec, I appreciate you. And now, like, we can't really talk until like Saturday night.
I mean, I can talk. You can't talk to me.
You wouldn't do that to me.
It depends. I mean, don't piss me off.
Yeah. All right. I'm seeing it Saturday. Alex seeing it Thursday. Hopefully you guys see it soon. We'll do some more off the rails Marvel talk afterwards at some point. And I'm hyped. So thank y'all for listening. Mets Yankees video. If you watch this one on YouTube first, go check out the Mets Yankees video. If you watch that one, thank you. We appreciate you. Subway Sports Talk. Cheers.